The classics, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. In the past 15 years, millions of Mars-Venus books have been sold in over 45 languages throughout the world.
One second.
His latest
Give
book,
me your
Why
address so I
Mars and
can
Venus Collide,
send
is
it.
ranked number 7 in the Health, Mind, and Body category on Amazon, and it's on sale here for less. For $20, or $25, you get the last book that he spoke about a year and a half ago. Now, he's a certified family therapist for over 15 years and has been conducting personal growth seminars for over 30 years. His focus is assisting men and women in understanding, respecting, and appreciating.
No, I gave it back.
For more than 30 years, he's conducted public and private seminars for thousands of participants. He's a popular speaker on the national and international lecture circuit and often appears on television and radio programs. His weekly national syndicated column has reached 30 million readers in many newspapers, including, I won't go through them, many. He lives with his wife and family in Northern California, and I give you John Gray.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. All right, thanks so much. Am I on? Are we working? Okay, great. I've been here once before talking about my book, The Mars-Venus Diet and Exercise Solution, Creating the Brain Chemistry of Health, Happiness, and Romance. So how many were at that presentation? Just curious. Okay, great. We'll do a little review of that at certain points, but most of it's new stuff in my new book, which is Why Mars and Venus Collide. Now, I'm sure you think you already know, but we've all had collisions. But the problem is, when we have collisions, there's usually frustration. And whenever there's frustration, it's only because we don't understand the situation. So who's been frustrated with the opposite sex before? Yeah, there's this massive frustration. Me included, of course. And what I do in this book is sort of decipher the code to help us understand and make sense of what's going on. And so tonight we'll get some good hints on making sense of what's going on. The book's a fun read as well. We'll have a fun time tonight. Oh good, there is a clock there. I don't need to put this phone next to my heart. I can turn this thing off. Well, I didn't have a clock with me, so I'll just put that in my red pocket of the red jacket there. Okay, so 8:30, 9:30, and then I'll give us some time for questions. And of course, those of you who heard my last talk, you know, I've been doing Men Are From Mars for 25 years, so I do other things as well. One of my favorite presentations is on detoxification. So I have a few more things to say on detoxification besides all the wonderful things you said. And also, there's a lot of practical nuts and bolts of applying the Mars-Venus ideas for health. And that's what I'm most excited about. I think everybody over 50, then 60, then 70, you become more concerned with health. you give up on everything else, but okay, you at least got to work on your health. And I see that good relationships is a major part of health. And good relationships doesn't necessarily mean resignation to not having one or resignation to not creating trouble in your relationship. But there's dynamics that we may see tonight that maybe we weren't aware of that can renew a sense of interest, curiosity, passion, and love in intimate relationships, but this can also be applied to friendships, relationships with our children, and to people around us. So, but I will have lots of examples from intimate relationships because often that's where it's most frustrating. The truth is, the closer someone is to us, the more easy it is to get bruised. See, if somebody's at a distance, they can say whatever they want to say, they can walk out of my lectures, they can write awful articles, they can do anything they want. But when you just have sex with someone and then they say something, it can get right to you. So since we do become vulnerable through sex, probably one of the most vulnerable ways that one of the most vulnerable things we can do is be naked, interact, and please someone and want to be pleased. That's a very vulnerable moment. That person now has a connection where it's like they can very easily, as well as they can affect you in sex and make you feel good, they can also affect you and make you feel terrible. So my wife is really the only person in the world who has the power to upset me. Literally, I've got this thing mastered. Nothing upsets me generally, but my wife has the power. And I've worked really hard at giving up sex during my last 23 years of being married to her, thinking, okay, I just won't have sex again, but somehow I'm cursed, I have to have sex, and so I had to figure out how could I have sex again with her. So I've worked out all the kinks in this for you. or maybe add a few little insights for you who've already worked out many of those kinks. Because typically, if you've stayed married for many, many years, you have to work them out to various degrees. And this will just remind you of some of the things you've learned, as well as maybe some new things. So the new book, Why Mars and Venus Collide, I like to say the subtitle, which is Improving Relationships Through Understanding How Men and Women Cope with Stress Differently. Long subtitles, but that's sort of my focal point here, is understanding how men and women cope with stress differently. And this is what inspired me to write this book. I've written 16 books. I'm a multi-millionaire. I get $35,000 a talk, except here. And but that's in China and Philippines and Europe and all around the world. I'm like this famous person. Men from Mars is literally a phenomenon. It's the biggest selling book in the world, second to Harry Potter. I mean, it's massive everywhere, in every country, everywhere. It's a big deal. I mean, and I love talking about it, but I was done writing books about it. I mean, a lot of books on it. But then this research came out at UCLA about 5 years ago, and that really excited me because the research was now a biochemical foundation to justify, to explain all the ideas I'd written about before. You know, I had to fight over and over and over. As with any great sort of big thing that has a big impact, it's some idea that nobody thought about, even though it's obvious. I mean, I'm a simple person. I just spoke the obvious. And everybody was making it way more complicated than it was. And while a good thing was happening in the world 30 years ago, we wanted more freedom for women. Women wanted to step out of their traditional roles. Men didn't know it, but we like stepping out of our traditional roles as well once we're out. But men sort of like, on Mars, we have a formula. If the formula works, don't change it. On Venus, their nature is, if it works, well, why not try something new? Who knows, it might work better. And of course, this is one of the biggest problems in marriage, is that women have this, what I call the home improvement gene. And so they love you, and suddenly they focus on you, and now they want to improve you. And men didn't sign up for that. You know, when you marry a guy, it's kind of like he's getting the message, okay, I'm loved just the way I am. Now, he's thinking, and this is what a man thinks, do not change. He wants her to stay just the same. She's thinking, okay, now I can improve him. And while it comes from, it's this nature. Women have a nurturing nature, which is nurturing. See, men have a fixing nature. Okay, if it's broken, you fix it. If it's not broken, you leave it alone. Women have a nurturing nature. And a nurturing nature means that you plant a seed, you water it, and it grows, and it keeps changing, and you keep doing all sorts of things. You trim it back, you cut it. Women are all into grooming us men. You know, my wife, she still tries. I mean, she still tries. She thinks I'll ever learn manners. It just doesn't happen. As you get older, you forget the ones you learned, so forget about that one. You know, like food falling on your face and whatever, you know, that kind of stuff. Slobbering. She catches me putting my spoon in the jelly jar after I've eaten from it. Well, various things she'll catch me doing. You forget about that stuff. Anyway, that's if you're from Mars. So what we have is this research. And so I just observed this stuff. I'm a marriage counselor. And as a marriage counselor, I would just watch men and women constantly batter and bicker. And they didn't even know what they were fighting about. They often had a whole different agenda going on. I said, hold on. Let's just figure out what's going on here. And realize that most of the time they're just misinterpreting each other. And when they're arguing and fighting, often men are making one point and women have 30. And you know, man, you think you've won the argument because you pick, out of 30 things she's talking about, you pick one thing. That's wrong, and we're going to prove that I'm right, and he'll pound on it. And she goes, so what if you're right on that? We've got 28 other things you're wrong on. You know, just... And, you know, over time, couples just sort of back off from it rather than finding very constructive ways to deal with our differences. And what I do is help us to have a positive way to look at our differences so that we're not so frustrated by them and we're not so disappointed by each other. I mean, here's the absurdity of human beings. And it's not, you know, one person. It's everybody to some extent. It amplifies this idea of a woman's in my counseling office and her husband's late for counseling. And she's so upset. She says, I can't believe it. He's always late. Once again, he's always late. I said, you mean he's always late? She says, yes. How long has he always been late? For the whole 20 years we've been married, he's always late. And you're still frustrated, thinking he should be here on time? I mean, at a certain point, when you bang your head against a wall trying to walk out, you realize there's not a doorway there. You just find out, okay, where is the door? And you accept that there's a door over here, and you're not going to walk to that wall. It's just never going to happen. He'll never be on time when she thinks it's really, really important. That's just who he is. You just learn to adjust to that. And that's called accepting life. You know, we accept, you know, life is not a perfect place. It's a big mess. I'm a proud grandfather now. I got just had 2 grandsons born from 2 different daughters. That was just 2 weeks apart. They just came out. That's really fun. Then I have a 2-year-old, Sophia. And Sophia is, of course, at this point my favorite because she's 2 years old and I bonded with her. And, you know, one of my fantasies was to be a rock star. Well, I never got to be a rock star. I'm just not inclined that way. But I can play chords on a guitar and play notes on a piano, but nothing I could never succeed professionally at it. But with her, I'm a rock star. I just play a chord, and I use words that she uses. Her favorite word is messy, and the other was angels. Because we have angels around our house. She's like, angels, angels, and we make messes and have fun making messes. So I play the messy song. I just get a note, and I go, messy, 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 and then change another, angels are messy, 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 messy. And she just puts her little hands down in front of me, and I am a rock star. She's so happy to see me. But the joy there is, I'm making this point, is that messy is a part of life. And we start thinking it's not a part of life. It's just life is a mess, and we all have fun cleaning it up. And it's so frustrating to think there shouldn't be messes. As I told my wife once, in Martian terms, there was one time when the kids were young, I was saying, okay, honey, you really need time. You're stressed. You need time to do whatever you want, which was a good thing. Women need time away from the whole thing. I said, just take the whole day off. I'm going to take the kids. She said, well, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to take the kids. Well, what are you going to do? I said, I'll do what I do. I don't need to tell you what I do. If you tell me, then you're taking the kids. You don't have anything to do with it. Just go off. Just leave them in my hands. So I can't leave. I want to know what you're going to do. So finally, I said, all right, I don't approve of this, but I'll do it so you can go off and have a good time. I'm going to take them to Stinson Beach. We live in Mill Valley, and Stinson Beach is over the hill. I'm going to take them to Stinson Beach. She says, you're going to take them to Stinson Beach? You don't even have jackets with these kids. I said, okay, I forgot the jackets. It's going to be too cold. I said, okay, we'll go get jackets because it's going to be too cold. See, that's why I asked. I said, yes, that's why you asked. And there's another reality here, which is they could have gotten in the car with Dad. We would have gone to Stinson Beach. We would have got out on the beach. The kids would have complained it's too cold. And guess what? Dad would have created an adventure. And that's how Dad would bond with his children, by creating that adventure and solving the problem. Men cannot bond with their children or with their wives or with anybody unless there's problems that we can solve. And that's what women have to do. Messes are going to happen. Let the messes happen and let him fix them whenever he can. So, but she didn't understand that. You know, she's like wanting to protect, and women should. They're all like thinking, what could go wrong, what could go wrong, what can go wrong. But you know, there's a place where you just have to let go and let him make some mistakes and let him learn from his mistakes. Whereas women want to like be mothers to men. And if you mother a man, you lose your attraction to him and he loses his attraction to you. So we're going to learn a little bit more about that. So I want to come back to the subtitle of my book, which is, that sort of keeps me on track, which book I'm talking about. This is actually number 17. And so this is how to improving relationships, so understanding how men and women cope with stress. And I just read this research out of UCLA in 2002, and I went, wow, this is it. Finally, someone has proven something that I dare not put in a book for the last 20 years that I would have loved to, which was the hormonal difference between men and women. Nobody had done the proof. Whenever you mention hormones, they slaughter you if you don't have all kinds of proof on it. So I was just using what I saw as my observations. But what I knew, and would teach sometimes in my classes when the press wasn't there, wasn't in writing, is this information about hormones. But again, your cynic would say, well, what study proved that? Finally, the study is there. And the bottom line of it is revolutionary. It's really like an earthquake that will shake the world as it starts to disseminate out. And the whole idea of Men Are From Mars is the realization that men and women are supposed to be different. Progress is not women becoming like men or men becoming like women. That is not progress. Progress is men becoming more like men and women becoming more like women, more whole within ourselves. Not men becoming like women, but men learning how to respect women and support women better. And women learning how to appreciate and use men better. I know women would hate to use that word, but actually we men like to be used. We're like horses. You kick us and we go ahead and then you feed us. We're very simple. Use me, ride me. If I can do something to make you happy, let me do it. But what you have to know with all men is men do a task, they have to have a reward. Women don't understand that because women don't have to have rewards. That's why women have less rewards. Women will do stuff with no reward. Men have to have reward in order to give them the energy to do it again. But not only the reward, but they need a nap. They need a nap. And we're going to learn the physiology of this stuff. See, these are some of the ideas that were politically incorrect that I couldn't talk about then because I didn't have the foundation for it. What's so exciting is all this research which explains it. You know, this is a book, every one of you, your children, you want to give your daughters and your sons, you want to give them this book and save them a lifetime of misery. Because one of the big battles is today, a husband and wife, they go to work, they come home, and the first thing that happens is he comes home and sits on the couch. And the first thing that happens for her is she sees a messy house and has to clean it up now. Now, can any women relate to that little dynamic? And she looks over at him and goes, what is he doing sitting there? I'm working, he's working, why does he get to rest on the couch and I have to do all the work? But let's look at reality. The reality is she can't rest. She can't. See, women are telling me over and over, I can't rest, I got too much to do, I can't rest. Well, guess what? You can't rest. It's not his fault. You can't rest. And you're not designed to rest either. You have some idea that you're men and you're supposed to rest when you come home. You can't, and you know you can't. You look at him and you say, he should be like you. Really, you should look at him with great admiration. Oh my gosh, look what he could do. This is salvation for couples. This is just big stress on relationships today, is that when you come home, see, women have been playing football with men. They're playing by men's rules in the workplace. They're becoming men all day long. Competition. What the workplace means, when you're in the workplace, you work for money. Women have never worked for money, generally speaking. They work out of love. And women who did work for money, women of the night, they're often shunned, called whores, prostitutes. And basically, I'm a whore prostitute. Give me $35,000 and I'll fly anywhere tomorrow and give a talk. I don't want to fly to the Philippines. Who wants to fly to Beijing? Who wants to fly all these places? First class, best economy. I don't want to do it. I live in a 10-star house. I got family and grandchildren. Why would I ever want to go to these places in the world? And I can give a talk anywhere here. I can give a talk there. It's people wherever they are. What's the point of me flying over there? I got my price. $35,000, I'll come to you. In call. That's called working for money. That's working for people you don't even know, you don't even care about. And let's say you're a nurse, very nurturing job, but suddenly somebody can't pay the bill. What happens? You can't help them. See, this doesn't stimulate the hormones that make women happy. When women can freely give of themselves, do what they like to do what they want to do, then a hormone gets produced, and that's the magic hormone, and that was the research in 2002. They measured the hormone oxytocin. Who's familiar with that research? Let me just see. Okay, I wouldn't bother talking much more about it, but the application of it, but not everybody's heard about it. So basically, oxytocin is being considered the nurturing hormone, the love hormone, the bonding hormone, the friendship hormone, the sharing hormone. These researchers termed it the friend and what is it? Friend and befriend? But no, that wouldn't make sense. Tend, which is to nurture, to tend to others' needs and be friends. tending and befriending. That is the oxytocin response. When women are in situations where they can tend and befriend, like the garden, you're tending to the little seeds and protecting them and nurturing them, and you have help, that's your friends. You have friendships and sharing. What you get is a massive amount of oxytocin. Now, what's this magic of oxytocin? Oxytocin is the hormone, now finally located, the hormone that will lower cortisol in a woman's body. Now, the big significance here is that it doesn't lower cortisol for men. It just makes men sleepy. So anything that's actually going to help women cope with stress just makes men sleepy. So what would be examples of that? Well, that would be more extreme. We're going to get to that one. I'll build up to that. She's heard my talk before. We got to do a little foreplay to it. But that would be, honey, let's go to the museum and look at dead things. Men start getting sleepy. Unless they can make money out of it, then it's different, okay? Or unless he's an expert at it, then it's different. See, men need a hormone called testosterone in order to lower stress in their bodies. Everything for men is wired up to testosterone, which, by the way, which is so important when we're talking about cleansing the body. The first thing he mentioned in cleansing was all of the xenoestrogens in our environment. So what we have today is and xenoestrogens, what happens with these estrogens is they interfere with the production of testosterone. So what happens is more estrogen means less testosterone for men. That means men have less capacity and ability to cope with stress. Testosterone is the hormone to lower stress in a man's body. By stress, we don't mean traffic jams and problems out here. That's just life. That's messy. Life is messy, 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 messy. Okay, we got a mess to clean up, another mess to clean up. That doesn't cause stress to us. If a man has messy and has confidence, his testosterone rises in the face of stress, and his stress levels go down, and he lives longer because of that. If a woman is in the face of messy, messy, messy out there, and she feels not confidence, but assured that she has all the time, resources, and support she needs in order to help others going through this messy situation, then her stress levels go down. Men just have to have not just adjust, but men have to have the confidence and the problem and the confidence to fix it and solve it, and that raises his testosterone, lowers stress for him. Now women, you know you're solving problems all the time. It feels good. It feels good to you. It feels good to men. But the difference is when you're solving problems, it doesn't lower your cortisol levels. Cortisol is the stress hormone. So you've got messy out there. If women feel, it's all up to me, I have no help, I have no time, I have no resources, I call that the feeling overwhelmed, because that's what women call it. How many women can relate to sometimes feeling overwhelmed? Let me see if here in this town you have overwhelmed women. Yes, I don't know anywhere where they don't have overwhelmed women. A few exceptions, somebody could be the exception, but overwhelm is when women are stressed. They feel they're not producing enough oxytocin at that time. They're feeling there's too much to do, and I don't have enough time or support to get it done. What we want to do is recognize that the world is totally different now. In 20 years, massive change has taken place in the world. And we all know that with computers and internet and busyness and crowdiness and all that. All the messiness is out there more than ever before because it's so much faster. But what is more significant than all of that is something called role reversal, which is women becoming men. Women living in a world that pays women to be men, encourages women to be men. A woman's survival becomes dependent upon becoming like a man. And there's no room for her to get support to be feminine, to be a woman, or to discover that part of her. Because life is always a journey. Life has many, many stages. A woman's journey is a woman's journey. A man's journey is a man's journey. And what happens is if we don't get the right kind of support, the stimulation we need to produce the hormones we need, we don't cope with life. We don't cope with the mess. And it gets us down. And it makes us sick. It's stress is a major contributor to our sickness. So let's look at that for a second. And then back to solutions about role reversal. Because I'm not suggesting women not be in the workplace. I think this is the best thing that's ever happened in the history of mankind. It's a huge evolutionary leap, but with it becomes a big new mess. But women can help clean it up and men can help fix it. We'll do it together. But it's a key thing is to recognize stepping back is not the solution. The solution is, as you mentioned, is balance. If women are going to spend 8 hours or more of their day in a world which is going to stimulate testosterone, which doesn't do anything to lower her stress, but actually increases her stress over the day. Not that testosterone is bad for women, not at all, unless it's really high. It's that while she's making testosterone, she's not making oxytocin. Because what makes testosterone or stimulates the production of testosterone is like a complementary opposite to what stimulates the production of oxytocin. And so the solution, if women are spending all day doing testosterone stimulating activities, her few hours at home need to produce what I might call superoxytocin, enough to balance that. All the old-fashioned traditional oxytocin stimulators are helpful if she's got 8 to 10 hours to do it. But if she doesn't, there are superoxytocin producers. And I'll get into what that basically means. So we've got, first of all, we need to understand that the things that stimulate testosterone are risk and danger. So really getting in a car today is testosterone stimulating. And I even look at that, like if you're a parent, my mother was way low on the stress scale. But look at the world she lived in. She had a nice husband. He wasn't an alcoholic. He wasn't a drunk. She lived in a nice neighborhood. He had a job. She raised the kids. She had like a nanny to help. In the afternoon, in the morning, when it was in a school day, at school she'd say, go and get on the bus. And then the kids would come home, and then she'd say, go and play, and I'll ring the bell when it's time to eat. That was the neighborhood I lived in. What did she have to do? I mean, she certainly had a lot to do, but it wasn't like women today who have to get in their cars and drive their children places, which is now there's a sense of urgency, traffic jams, you don't have predictability. When you don't have predictability, you have something called uncertainty. You have lack of regularity. Regularity produces oxytocin because you know what to expect. You know your rhythm. You know your support will be there. Then you've got uncertainty, great testosterone producer if you've got confidence. If you don't have confidence, by the way, our risk and danger is a lot of uncertainty too. Risk, that's uncertainty. Stimulates testosterone if you have confidence. So if you don't have confidence, then what happens is you become depressed. Testosterone levels start to drop down. Or as a male, you try to find places to be confident. So you'd look at a typical inner city boy who's driven by testosterone to feel good, and he's getting messages from his education or lack of education, from his family, and from looking at the way the world is built. You're never going to amount to anything. You can't solve anything. You can't fix anything. You're not going to accomplish anything in your life. What kind of confidence is he going to have? So where does he get his testosterone? He gets his testosterone in gangs. He gets his testosterone in dangerous situations. He wants to put himself in greater danger where he has to then solve the problem and react quickly. So again, we see our whole imbalance in society. We're talking about this imbalance of basic hormones in the body, and it answers the key to so many of our social problems and health problems once we start to get the dynamics of this. So you get the male side, uncertainty, risk, danger, urgency. Any of that sense of urgency is going to stimulate testosterone. Now see, a lot of guys in here are retired. And statistically, not that you have to be in those statistics, if you're retired, statistically you've got 3 years to live. That's the insurance companies giving. You know, you're in this class, you're learning new things, you're obviously not in that group. But what is it about that statistic? It's about as men age and they don't have to go to work. Whenever you have to do something, that produces testosterone. If I can sit back and be a fat cat and do whatever I like, I get fat. Because if men don't use that testosterone, it then turns into estrogen and they get fat. So the fat belly, that's why estrogen, again, you get the xenoestrogens, we'll talk about that, other ways to get rid of it as well. But we've got the whole testosterone thing. Men have to produce testosterone and use the testosterone. And what we're seeing now in America over the last 15, 20 years, men's testosterone levels are starting to drop sooner and sooner and sooner. If you look at an Afghanistan man, or a man, an indigenous tribe in South America, at 90 years, 100 years old, he's got the testosterone levels of a 20-year-old. We are not designed to lose our testosterone and become passive and fat. This is all phenomena. One of all the toxic buildup, which gets in the way, because all that extra xenoestrogens go in and interfere with men's production of testosterone, but also retirement. We have this notion that you're supposed to retire. You know, do a job you don't like, which, by the way, will produce testosterone. Because anytime you do anything you don't like, you're sacrificing. I go to this job, I don't like it, but I do it because I love my family. A noble thing. A noble sacrifice produces huge amounts of testosterone. The fault in that is then he gets to 65 and says, now I don't have to do that anymore. I can play golf and do whatever I like to do, and his health drops immediately or soon. You need an intelligent retirement. Certainly you can stop doing things you don't like to do, but do things. Sacrificing will produce testosterone. But another thing will produce it as well, which is having problems that you solve and people depend upon you. That means you have a job or some sort of activity, and if you don't show up, somebody's going to die. Or if you don't show up, somebody's going to be really unhappy. So that motivates you. So when you wake up in the morning, you know, I've got to get up or I'm in trouble or somebody else is in trouble. That's essential for men. Now women, you live your whole life that way. Women live with too much, I have to do this. They got this little radar. You need me, you need me, you need me. Depressed women feel everybody needs me and I don't get what I need. Depressed men feel nobody needs me. It's the opposite. It's the opposite hormones. This is where we get down to the foundation of this. These were observations. Now we got physiological foundation of it. Now when I'm talking about increasing testosterone in men to lower stress, the last thing I'm suggesting is hormone replacement. Just to be real clear, this is one of the worst things I believe that men can do is take the hormones. Okay, there's so many natural things you can do without flooding your body with massive doses of hormones. You know the football players that are taking testosterone, and they're like big, the steroids as testosterone. Okay, so you got testosterone steroids. And you want to test whether he's doing it or not, you don't have to ask him. You just have to take a picture of him in the locker room, because his testicles have shrunk. That's what happens when men take testosterone. His testicles make testosterone in a man. Men have to make 30 times more testosterone than a woman. Everything testosterone is masculine. When women say, I feel like I'm a man, I go, yeah, you have no idea. Multiply that times 10 and you've got a man. And we'll learn about those differences in terms of our needs. We're hungry for stimulation to make testosterone. Women are hungry, even more hungry for stimulation to produce oxytocin. What are the things that stimulate oxytocin? What are the things that stimulate testosterone? Well, some of the things that stimulate oxytocin is affection. It's real simple stuff, men. Nothing complicated here. It's so simple that men don't think it's necessary to do. Because that's nothing. Why? Because it doesn't do anything for him. You know, you read these little romantic books written by women that say, leave him little notes. So leave him a little note. That was nice, but who cares, you know? How about great sex? All like that, you know? It's nice, and it is nice. Occasionally my wife will leave a little note in the bed, and oh, so sweet, I love her and everything. Multiply that times 10, and that's a woman's reaction. Because that little note stimulates oxytocin. Noticing she gets her hair done. Honey, you got your hair done. Love it. Oh, you changed the color of your hair. I mean, imagine her experience if she changes the color of her hair and her husband doesn't even notice. Does she feel seen? Does she feel heard? Does she feel important or special? To a man, I could care less whether she noticed. Of course, all women would notice. So I would never have that experience in life. But men don't go around to therapists complaining, I changed my hair color, I got a perm, and she didn't even notice. I make one deviation in my clothes, and all my daughters and my wife go, oh, you changed. You see, on Venus, they got rules. You can't wear the same shirt every day. They catch me all the time. You wore that yesterday. Yeah, I wore that yesterday. But I smelled it. It was fine. Even if it's fine, You put it back, but you can't wear it every day. And these are like Venusian rules, manners, and all that stuff. But think about the Mars world. If you're a chef, you wear your same outfit. You're a military man, you wear your same outfit. If you're on Obama's team, they all wear gray suits. Everybody's got outfits. That's his Mars. Why do you have an outfit? Because it says what you do. Your outfit says what you do. And what you do is most important to men. Not that it's not important to women, but it's 10 times more important to men, because if I walk into the room and you know what I do and you have a sense of admiration, oh, he does that. He's one of those guys that do that. He has expertise. He has magnificence in something. Then in advance, he already knows people will have admiration for him and remember times and appreciation for that. That stimulates testosterone in him. Anytime you acknowledge what a man can do, has done, or is doing in a positive way, it goes right to his heart. Testosterone goes up, and he becomes loving and kind and considerate and gentle and caring and creative and supportive. Everything that guy was for 3 weeks when he courted you. He's there. He just needs that testosterone to come up. That's when he has the maximum confidence. Then he discovers, oh my gosh, I thought everything was going to be perfect. Once she gets to know him, she starts to feel safe to share her feelings. And when she starts to share her feelings about things, then he goes, oh my gosh, there's no way I'll ever make this woman happy. And he gives up. See, men, over time, it's just like women will start talking. Oh, here she goes again. Oh my God, what's that? Well, there's nothing I can do about this. We already went through the phase where we try to tell her, well, don't worry about that. Just do this and this and this, which doesn't work. That's like taking gasoline on a fire and making it bigger. But men don't understand that. If I'm out with some guys and somebody's talking too long about a problem, which is after 3 minutes, I said, don't worry about it. You'll handle it. We're having our night out. Why would you want to talk about problems when we're trying to forget them? Because that's how those men that do. Not all men are great at this, but instinctively most men do quite well with it. If they just sort of follow old Martian traditions, which is on Mars, if there's a problem, you solve it. And at the end of the day, when the work day's over, what can you do to solve it? Nothing. So you don't go home feeling, gee, I want to do this, but I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. That would make you a woman. What men do is they have a philosophy on Mars. If there's nothing you can do about it, then what? Forget it. At least forget it till tomorrow. And that's what we do. We are designed to forget problems. And women, when you become a problem we can't solve, we forget you. Literally, we can't bring you into our awareness. When we're under stress, the way men cope with stress is solving problems or forgetting problems. It's called the fight or flight response. That's the testosterone response to stress. The testosterone response to stress. Stress, mess. Okay, solve the problem so the mess doesn't occur again. That's going to be the man's thing. Let me solve this problem. Then, after I've solved the problem, I need to take my nap, or I need to rest. I need to do something else. It's always solve it, do something else. And if we're solving it and we can't finish solving it, then the flight response is to forget it until we can. Put it on hold. Leave it there. So women, oh, he'll never think about this again. He'll walk out of the room, I don't want to talk about it, this is ridiculous. And he'll go away and forget it. That's what he's designed to do. That's how men cope with stress. Women can't understand this, and they think that's a sign he doesn't love you. He doesn't care about you. You're not important to him. Why doesn't he want to hash all this out? Well, guess what? Talking about problems produces oxytocin. So instinctively, women go, well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. He thinks, let's do something about it or forget it. On Venus, well, if there's nothing we can do about it, at least we can talk about it. So women talk about problems. And as they talk more and more about problems, what happens to men? Sleepier and sleepier and sleepier. That's your oxytocin response. Now, when I first learned about oxytocin, as they were gradually, over the last 15 years, more and more research was coming out about oxytocin. I figured it out when I first heard that the big bond, remember the woman who wrote the book about children at birth, and if you're there, you bond with them, because oxytocin is this bonding hormone. So it's important to be there at the birth. You get this big dose of bonding hormone. Which, by the way, we were just at the restaurant before here. what they do for the speakers here is they take us to dinner, and they're quite charming. It's quite a wonderful experience. My office kept saying, they want you to go to dinner, but don't you just want to go? I go, no, I want to go to dinner. That's I have such a pleasure to spend time with you. This is a very distinguished, wonderful group. It's not just a job for me. It's just I really enjoy coming here and speaking to you. That was a little too Venusian there. Let me get back to my point. Okay? So completely, my mind has gone blank having done that. But I need some more of this water. It's good water up here. Get me some water. Thanks.
Vegetarian diet.
No. My vegetarian diet. He's making fun of my vegetarian diet. I'll tell you about vegetarian diet. Just dehydration. See all the sweat on my body? See how talking? That's water going out. I'm dehydrated because... Well, by the way, you mentioned saunas. Forget saunas and remember far infrared saunas. That's the new thing. And you can get one for your house for 2 people. You'll start sweating massive amounts in 10 minutes. And the temperature will be less than 130 degrees. Whereas a big sauna would be like 20 minutes and a 250-degree thing. You're risking lung cancer and all kinds of problems in that. Far infrared saunas for $1,500, for $1,600, you can get one. All over the internet, what I found is that the ceramic ones take longer to heat up and you don't sweat as much, even though everybody says they're better. You want to get the carbon ones. It's like a carbon paper, and they put the electricity through it like light. And man, do you sweat like crazy. And just one little correction or misinterpretation. When you talk about exercise as a way of detoxifying, there's 2 types of exercise. One type of exercise is where you're out of breath, and there's one type of exercise where you're not out of breath. 2 distinctions. If you're out of breath, that means I'm going along, I'm exercising, and I stop, and I go, that means I'm out of breath. If I'm out of breath, I'm not detoxifying. You can measure all that sweat on my body, and there's no toxins coming out. So you're not detoxifying. If you're relaxed, like in a sauna, you're putting out the most toxins. But if you're exercising and you're not out of breath, then you measure your sweat, and you're going to be detoxifying. And also, if you want to lose weight, a lot of people exercise to lose weight. Unless you're already somewhat fit. See, fit people aren't out of breath when they exercise, so there's no problem here. If you want to lose weight, or if you want to detoxify through exercise, you have to do it making sure that you're always getting enough oxygen to your cells. Why is that? Because enough oxygen is necessary to burn fat. When oxygen levels go low, your body gets its energy from burning carbohydrates. And when you burn carbohydrates, you're not burning fat. So you're not going to lose any fat. It's also not healthy to be burning too much sugar in the body or too much carbohydrate. Healthy is you're burning fat. So generally if you're overweight and you even walk up a hill, you're already going, and you think you're working so hard, you're working really good. No, you want to pace yourself, regularity, go a long walk, an hour walk. But make it easy and have somebody you're talking to the whole time. Why talking? Because you're bonding. Even in aerobics classes, to the extent aerobics classes do things for women, mostly women go, it's because you've got 30 women all doing the same thing. Oxytocin producer. They're all sharing. It's that activity of sharing which produces oxytocin. You've got all men doing their own thing in the gym, and that's a big testosterone producer. Now, if we learn from the gym, we also learn something else. Because these guys are masters of getting more testosterone to build more muscles. You're in the gym, you lift your weights, and you're a big guy, not like me, but you're a big guy with lots and lots of muscles. What happens for him to build more muscle after he's worked out? What does he need to do when he gets home? Sleep. Sleep. Hours, isn't that correct? You're a guy, you do those guys.
You need to recover, but you also need to balance with a certain amount of protein and...
You need your amino acids, and you need your sleep.
But resting is very good, because when you rest, you also increase your HGH naturally.
Did you want that long and then?
No, I like that one. Sleep. Look, I work with weightlifters. They go home and I work with their wives who complain. All these guys do is sleep. What do they sleep for? Because they need the HGH, that's the growth hormone, which occurs in deep sleep, which regenerates the muscles and rebuilds testosterone. And this is the big answer to help women understand men. When men break down their muscles, okay, that's what lifting the weights is. You're stressing them, you're breaking them down, those muscles have to rebuild. They rebuild through sleep. And this is why men will always have an easier time losing weight than women. Because we lose weight while we're sitting. We lose weight while we're sleeping. For a man, he's rebuilding his muscle mass. He has 30% more muscle mass than women. And to rebuild that muscle mass, he burns fat to do it. All he has to do is get stressed or work out those muscles and then go rest. And during the rest, he will use his fat to rebuild his muscle mass. And that's how men lose weight so quickly, while they're sleeping and while they're napping. They're getting it. And I'm sorry, ladies, you can't do it. But there's a whole other system that women have. And it's called not going to the extreme testosterone world where you have to act and then rest. For women, you are designed differently. You just have to get, this is how women have always been. This is how women will always be. They can make babies. If you can make babies, you're designed to do it all. You're designed to be up at all hours. You're designed to just keep on going. How many women sometimes feel like you do it all? Now you can be proud of that. That's what you're designed to do. You're designed to do it all. Now I know for men that might be a little frustrating to hear a guy say that women do it all. I certainly was frustrated the first time my wife told me that. I said, "What's the matter, honey?" And she says, "Well, I feel like I do everything." I said, "What do you mean you do everything?" She says, "Well, that's how I feel. I do this and this and this and this and this." I said, "Well, honey, if you do everything, that means I do nothing." And she says, "But I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about me. Why does every conversation have to end up being about you? Can't I just tell you how I feel without it being about you?" And I said, "That's fine, but what your feelings are about is me. If you're complaining you do everything, you're saying I'm doing nothing." And she said, "No, I did not say you do nothing. I said I do everything." Now, there is a debate between a man and a woman. But between two women, there's no debate at all. One woman says, "I do everything," and the other woman says, "I know just how you feel. I do everything too." I gotta look at my clock here. Okay? So women are designed to do everything. The problem today is that the mess that women are cleaning up today stimulates testosterone and doesn't stimulate oxytocin. When women all day long are doing everything that has to be done in an oxytocin-producing way, their stress levels drop. And when a woman's stress levels drop, she loses weight if she's overweight. When a woman's stress levels drop, what that means is when cortisol levels drop, your body begins to use fat as your primary source of energy. When cortisol levels are elevated, your body uses carbohydrate as your primary source of energy. How do you know you're not burning fat? Here's some examples. One, if you have any extra fat on your body, you're not burning fat as much as your body could be. That's the first. The second is, do you have cravings during the day for cookies, or sweets, or carbohydrates, or pastas, or white potatoes? Any of those kinds of cravings, or bread. We have all of our sneaky ways of doing it. All those carbohydrates, those cravings where I want my little snack to be that means your body, and you have extra weight on your body. That means instead of using the fat that's on your body's craving some carbohydrates out there. Now, why is it craving carbohydrates? Because your body can't access the fat for energy. Why can your body not access the fat for energy? It's because cortisol levels are elevated. When stress levels drop, if women walk, when stress levels drop, and are dropping more and more, oxytocin will do that. More and more oxytocin in your life, more and more your stress levels will drop. And every day you're walking. That walking says, I need more energy. And when you need more energy, your body will then burn the fat to give you the energy. And that's the way women can lose weight. My friend Oprah, I've been on her show 18 times. I didn't know this when I used to give her advice. I told her she was addicted to sugar. She, like most addicts, denied it. But years later, she acknowledged she was addicted to sugar. She still knows she is. And the way she loses weight, I'm using her as an example because we all are familiar with her. The way she loses weight is she comes on all these diets and everything, and then she regains it back, as she's done again. And she tells me in private, but I read it in an article before when she was on one fad. She says, you know, ultimately the only way I get back down is to work out 3 hours a day. She's got her personal trainer, and she says it's hell. She doesn't like it, but she does it until she doesn't want to do it anymore, and she wants to do what she'd like to do. But the problem is, at that point, her body's so out of balance that she gorges herself. Now, what's the out of balance about? Women are, you see, her trainer looks fantastic. He's working out 3 hours a day, all testosterone-producing activities. Testosterone doesn't lower a woman's stress levels. See, a guy just has to do anything testosterone-producing. It's going to lower his stress. He's going to lose weight. And losing weight is just one little example of it. Another example of it is energy. See, when you're burning fat for energy, you have, when you're burning the fat for your energy, then you have unlimited energy, if you're a man, until it's nap time. There's never a time where men don't take action and then need to rest. Men live in a cycle of action and rest, action and rest. That's the testosterone cycle. What is the oxytocin cycle? The oxytocin cycle is to give to others and then allow them to give to you. And that's what women don't understand how to do. So my book's all about is chapter after chapter teaching women how to let people do things for you. And I know some women some women go, no, they don't let anybody do anything for them. Other women go, well, I would if they would do it. Then clearly you don't know how to allow someone to do things for you. You just don't know. Nobody taught you. Your mother didn't know. Now, if this is so important for women, the oxytocin cycle of give to others and let them give to you. For men, it's solve problems and forget them. Work hard and then play hard or nap. When you're younger, you play hard, but when you're older, you nap hard. So you got that balance. For women, it's about nurturing others and then nurturing yourself or allowing others to nurture you. So it's there and it's here. So why was this taught to you as little girls on this planet? On Venus, you didn't need to have that cycle because it was only women. See, if you're with women all day long, they have their little rules. Their rules is nobody's allowed to ask for anything, which is why women have such a difficult time asking. Asking, by the way, is the secret to allowing others to do things for you. You have to ask. Women have so many blocks to asking. When we talk about romance, I say, well, have you asked him to take you out on a date? Have you asked him to bring you flowers? Have you asked him to give you compliments? Have you asked him to tell you I love you? And she says, well, I have to ask. It doesn't count. I mean, you've set yourself a prison. There's no way you can succeed. You have to learn the art of asking if you're going to be with men. With women, you don't have to ask. Women have little radar. All women living together, working together, they're always, what can I do to help you? And what can I do? You never have to ask me. If I'm a woman, all you have to do is get tired and I come over and want to help you. Women are constantly helping each other. How many women can relate to that? And then you wonder why we men don't offer help to you. We're not designed that way. We're designed to do nothing until it's our job or somebody asks us. And if somebody asks us, you know what that implies? It says, oh, I'm needed. There's an emergency. Mr. Fix-It emerges. Second, you ask me. Because you asked me, it implies it's so important, I'm going to get a reward. Reward is very, very significant, particularly in our world today. See, the bigger the thing I do in this world, the bigger the reward. You do little things, you get little rewards. You do big things, you get big reward. So big reward, the anticipation of big reward, stimulates higher levels of testosterone in a man, particularly a younger man. At a certain point when a man has enough confidence in himself, even if others don't reward him, he knows he's making a difference. But for a younger man, as he's developed, it takes many, many years of being very, very successful, where I can say I may be at the point now where I would do something without getting paid for it. Like coming here. But then it's you clearly know you make a difference. It's all men really need to know is they make a difference. But it's a reality. It's not just knowing, it's you do have to make a difference. And often when you make a difference, somebody does want to reward you. They appreciate you. That little clapping there, that's all I need. That's the clapping, that's the acknowledgement. Think about one of the chapters of my book that my New York editors, women, would not let me put in. So I have to add it in. It was a real collision with this last editor at Harper with this book, and I called up the publisher and even said, I said, who is this lady? I mean, is she married? If she's married, I can't believe this person could be married, or she's going through a divorce because she doesn't like men at all. And lo and behold, it was what was going on, but nobody would tell me. Well, that's not necessary to know. I said, it is necessary. If I'm writing a book on rocket science and the other person's a rocket scientist, they're going to have a lot of opinions, you know, and so they're not just an editor. Editor's just looking at my grammar, it makes sense. Anyway, so she took out a lot of stuff. I might rewrite the whole book the way it was. But anyway, this is one chapter, which is a man's best friend. And what is a man's best friend? This is what men bond with. Well, you already know who a man's best friend is. Who? A dog. So I'm not implying that women are dogs. I'm saying dogs are dogs. But if you like a man to bond with you, learn from a dog. I mean, take whatever wisdom you can get from wherever you can get it. I mean, watch what happens between a dog and his guy, you know. That dog is always happy to see him. That's it. That's the mystery. How do you get a guy to bond with you? Be happy to see him. Oh, you're here. You're here. You could hate him. Hate him later. Be happy to see him. It's when a man, as a man, I mean, it's taken years for my wife to really get this and learn this, and she has, and it makes such a pleasant, loving, wonderful relationship. I know without a doubt when I walk in the door, there will not be complaints. Even if I'm 10 hours late, there's no complaint. You're still alive. You're here. It doesn't mean she can't have complaints. That comes later. But I know there's this place where I am coming home and I'm the celebrated hero, okay? It's just, this is what men, now why do men need this? Women always, they don't understand men, they get very jaded about this. Oh man, big egos, big egos, big egos. That's not a big ego. That's just a man. That's how he feels loved. Just like a woman feels loved when you give her hugs, when you take her on dates, when you bring her flowers, when you hold her hand, when you're affectionate to her, when you listen 10 times longer than humanly possible and empathize with problems that don't exist. See, we could be very jaded about that, and men do become jaded about that, unless you realize those things are the little things. Lots of little things is what stimulates oxytocin. Big things stimulate testosterone. And so what can happen when women understand this and they start creating and expressing, it's not faking it. It's just expressing your response. You're the voices. You express. You got 7 communication centers in your brain. Men have 1. If a man gets a stroke right here, he'll never talk or listen again. Women can have it here, and they'll talk from here, listen from here. Your brain's all wired up for expression. The feeling part of the brain got wiring superhighways to talking. When a man does anything good, let him know. Let him know. Women don't realize the importance of that because it's sort of a women thing, which is everybody just chips in and they do it. Nobody's like looking for glory and glamour or whatever. That would actually put you one up from all the other women and no oxytocin would get produced. Women are like, we all did it. You know, it's a frustrating thing. I'm a boss. I got all these women. Okay, who did this? This is great. Mary, what a fantastic... Oh, I didn't do it. It was Karen. It could never happen without Karen. Karen says, oh, no, Mary. Remember, you stayed up and you did that and you did that, whatever. Okay, but yes, I did that. But what about Jane? And they'll end up indirectly complimenting everybody, but nobody takes credit. Whereas you get a guy in the mix. John's in the mix and the boss is there. Well, who did this? And Mary says, oh, I couldn't have done it without, John did this incredible thing. He did this and this and this. John doesn't know the rules on Venus. He goes, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I worked really hard. I think it was a great result, and women are all bent out of shape. Men take credit. Well, that's what we do. And we wonder, why aren't you taking credit? Sometimes we wonder, I guess I'm the one who did it, because you didn't bring it up. It's like we play games like basketball where you steal the ball from people. That's illegal. You take the ball. Well, I'm going to take the ball. Well, I'm going to take the shot. Well, then I get a chance next time. So that's testosterone. That's competition. It's the world men live in. We try to create an organized world where testosterone get produced without creating risk and danger and so forth. But for people who don't have confidence, insecure people, out of work people, tell them there's a war. And tell them we're all in danger. And we need you to save everybody. And there'll be a big parade, and you'll get all kinds of medals that you can wear all over you. And guess what happens? I get that uniform, and what happens to me? Now my testosterone levels are up. And as long as there's a war, as long as there's a bad guy, as long as there's a demon out there, and we're all in danger, I can feel good. But if there's no bad guy, my testosterone levels drop unless I'm trained in other ways to make a difference in the world without there being crucial with women, and we had so much love for you. We said, well, you can do whatever you want. And whatever you don't want to do, we'll do it. And then men got all those jobs. Now women are begging to have those jobs. Oh, I want to go out and do that. But you don't know the price it takes, and it takes a greater toll on your bodies. You can do it, and it's a good step of progress for you to do it, only if it's in balance. To become more masculine for a woman is a great thing if she can stay feminine. And that's the whole key to it. To become sensitive and caring and compassionate and empathetic and want to give my services for free and all that stuff. If I can do that without giving up me and my masculine confidence and putting me first. I mean, I have to pay the bills. See, I'm this incredible, generous person. And every woman goes, well, gee, you know, I want my husband to be so generous. But what if he's so generous that he goes and gets paid and he gives the money away before he gets home? You don't like that husband. That's actually the biggest conflict my wife and I have, which is I have this very well-developed feminine side, just wants to help everybody. But I worked on my masculine, so I do well with that too. But if I get out of balance, I'm often criticized for that. Because women don't want some guy who's feminine. They say they do. And I did this back there when the curve was there 20 years ago, when everybody's saying men should be not in their heads. They should be in their hearts, their feelings. Let's get men to talk about their feelings. Well, I'm expert in helping anybody get in touch with their feelings. So I got men in touch with their feelings as a therapist, is what I did daily. Everybody, I mean every client that came to me, once I got the man talking about his feelings, teaching him the I feel statement, I feel hurt, win statement. 2 months later, that woman comes back, wants a private session with me and says, you know, I'm just not turned on to him anymore. I said, what do you think might have happened? She said, well, I don't think anything happened. I just didn't realize he has so many problems. Another woman, and she didn't want to say it to him. She didn't want to embarrass him or hurt his feelings. But another one says, he's just so sensitive to everything. I feel like I have to walk on eggshells around him. I want somebody I can sort of not worry about them. They should worry about me. Another one said, I feel like he's a child with all these sensitivities. I feel like I love him, I care about him, I'm motherly to him, but I'm not turned on to him. I like to be friends. I was destroying relationships daily by teaching men to be like women. And that's what I learned. No, don't teach men to be like women. Women think that's what they want. It's what they may think they want. It's not going to work. What they need is for men to learn how to help women be like women, make it safe for women to be feminine, to support women in becoming feminine, coming back to being feminine, and figuring out what that means was a whole 25 years of my research and doing all this. Coming to what would be this book is a wonderful culmination because it allows me to really come out and explain these things. Bottom line, if you get everything you want, women, so many women want, oh, I want to come home, we both go to work, now we're going to come home, we both want to make dinner together, and we're going to clean house together, we're going to take turns with the children together, we're going to do everything together now. And so he does it for a while, and they stop having sex. Because now he's overwhelmed and exhausted too. You've got two Venusians in the house, overwhelmed and exhausted. The formula here is the formula which has worked for thousands of years, but updated. Think of a man not just as your horse. That's one thing you have to learn about men. You use him. The second one is he's your emergency man. See, emergency creates testosterone. Testosterone gives men energy. If there's an emergency, then he has energy. If there's no emergency, then he has to go and relax. Because what's he doing while he's sitting on the couch? Physiologically, he's actually rebuilding his supply of testosterone. Why? For the emergency. And he'll sit there forever unless there's an emergency. And that's all you get to see is the emergency man doing nothing. Why? Because unless you ask, there is no emergency. So here's a simple example of that. You know, I've got my husky, what are they? The guys that work for me in my ranch. So I got this ranch. I got husky, brawny guys that carry stuff for me. And they move stuff around for me, and that's what they do. So my wife, we go up there occasionally. So we're leaving the house, and we've got bags. You know, she's got like 4 bags. She's carrying everything out to the car. You know, she's coming along, and she smiles, and she's smiling because she sees help. So she smiles, and we're all just having a conversation looking at her. And she stands there, and then she looks at me exasperated. I said, honey, is there something wrong? I got 4 bags. Don't you want to help? Of course, of course. We all jumped and grabbed the bags instantly. Every one of those guys and me would have been happy to carry those bags. But if you're doing it yourself, great, go right ahead. Well, as long as you can manage it, fine. I'll go into my emergency mode and wait. See, I'm waiting to spring into action. But there's a condition. See, you know it's an emergency only if there's a big reward. I mean, think about it. We get big rewards when people can solve big problems. So when you ask them to do some little thing, because it's doing little things, it actually produces oxytocin. So when you ask them, you're making your soup for dinner, and you say, oh my gosh, I forgot to buy cabbage at the store. My wife will call me in the middle of writing a book, which is like no zone. Don't talk to me then. I haven't bathed. I'm not human. You know, I got a beard, and my hands are sore. I just go in there. But we've gone through that stage kind of. So now at the end of the work day, and she'll be making dinner, and she'll say, I know you're writing really hard, but I'm making lentil soup, and it would taste so much better if I could get some cabbage. I forgot to get it at the grocery store. Would you drive down to the grocery store and get me some cabbage? Now see, it took a while to get to this stage of development, but the earlier stages I'd be thinking, what? She interrupts my great work for cabbage? But see, now I'm conditioned. I've learned. The rules on Venus is no matter what you do for a woman, big or small, you get the same response. I can give her 24 roses and her oxytocin level goes, oh, how nice. I can bring 1 rose and what happens to oxytocin? Oh, how nice. I can bring my children presents and they go, oh, how nice. But I can wrap the presents. Oh, they're wrapped. And Dad wrapped them because they're messy. There's more oxytocin. And then there's a little card. Oh, there's a card too. They read the card, which says the same thing. I love you. Happy Christmas or whatever. They go, oh, he wrote a card too. More oxytocin. 4 times the oxytocin because I wrapped the present myself and put a card on it. And the guy, all he cares about is what's in the present. And this is the way our brains work. We think bigger is better, bigger is better. With women, it's not bigger, it's how many, how much. It's lots of things. So men will often tell me when they're done with their relationships, they'll say, no matter what I do, it's never enough to make her happy. I say, what do you do? I work hard, we have great vacations, we got insurance. I said, that's all? What do you mean that's all? What else can you expect? I'm not a drug addict, I'm not broke, I'm not out of work. She should be lucky to have me. She is lucky to have you. But you're not doing the things that would help women cope with stress today. Women need men more than ever. More than ever. And this is evidenced. I don't want to necessarily say women need men, but women need help more than ever. As independent, as autonomous as women think they are, they're not. They need help more than ever before. And why? I'll give you the evidence. Now you can measure cortisol levels in women in the workplace, and they're twice as high as men's. Twice as high. That means all the statistics about women living longer and being healthy are changing. Already it's expected that they're equaling out, and soon women will be dying sooner before men. Women are having more health issues. This is all that the chain is moving in that direction. And you can measure it in the body because elevated cortisol, women have twice the elevated cortisol. Then, when a man anticipates coming home, as long as there's a good couch and a remote control, his cortisol levels shoot down. This is measurable. It goes straight down, and for a woman, it goes off the chart. See, because what happens is she comes into an environment that her brain, her body, her hormones say, yes, this is what I'm designed for, to make a nest, to create beauty, food, cleanliness, all these things that she's designed to do for the nest, for the baby. She's only got 3 hours to do a 12-hour job. So her body's saying this all must be done, and she knows I have no help and I have no time. He's on the couch and there's a clock up there and I have no time to do it. So she's now experiencing an emergency every day she gets home. And what hormone is produced by emergencies? Testosterone. Is testosterone bad for women? No, it just doesn't lower their stress. And what's bad for women is high levels of stress. It's what's bad for men. Same thing, high levels of stress. What happens when cortisol levels are elevated? Digestion stops. You cannot make enzymes when you have a huge stress reaction. Chronic stress reaction means as you age, you'll make less and less enzymes. Every one of us needs enzyme supplementation. Okay, good quality enzymes, take them every day, because we're all living in a massive world of stress that was never, and we were intended to be, until we learn to find the balance. More oxytocin for women, and what will do it. A list of 101 things women can do to create oxytocin on their own, and 101 things men can do to make oxytocin for women. And in simple, I'm not going to go through the whole list, but the things women can do is start prioritizing doing the things you'd like to do. And women go, I can't. You can. And you need to read a book over and over and over till you convince yourself you can do it. Why? Because you can't give your heart to the world unless you make sure that you give time for yourself. Do the things that you love to do, things that you like to do, and make sure you have plenty of time to do them. That means you rush to then create time, so that you have this time and you mark it out. And you tell a man, and men will, hey, what are you doing there? And if he even gets close to that, you go, whoa, wait a second, I'm different from you. I have to do this. It's hard for me to do this for myself. This is a selfish day. I need to do it. Whatever you have to do it. But this is the challenge women have. When men are not coping well with stress, that means we're not like being able to relax and rebuild our testosterone. What happens when men are not doing well with stress is that we have a tendency to make our own needs more important than others. Too much. And when women are not doing well with stress, they have a tendency to make other people's needs more important than their own. And that's the stress reaction that women have. Is they have this, a whole chapter in my book is called The Never-Ending To-Do List. How many women have a never-ending to-do list? Now, I could ask men, and men would say, we have one too, but the difference is we leave our weights at the gym. We leave our problems in the office. We have an escape from them. It's physiological as well. We can simply go to the right part of our brain through recreational, mindless activities, and the left side of the brain goes to sleep. We use one part of the brain at a time. Plato talked about this. He talked about the virtues of frivolous activities. Is if you're serious all the time, you'll start aging and get sick. You have to let that part of the brain rest. So how do you let that part of the brain rest? You work hard with the left side of your brain, then you go to the right side of your brain. When a man goes to the right side of the brain, the left side literally stops functioning, and it rests and regenerates. Women can't do that. You're not designed to that. Your brain has 7 or 8 times more white matter, which is highways connecting left and right different parts of the brain. When one part of the brain is being used, you go to another part of the brain, this one's going to call, what are you doing? Women actually have a conference call going on in their brain from all the parts of the brain at all times. Feelings say, I like to do this. Reason, but you can't do that. We still have to do this. Well, what would happen if that would happen? How important is this? Well, maybe I should talk to so-and-so. Remember what they said. The whole conversation's going on in a woman's brain. It doesn't happen that way in our brains. We are so simple women. You cannot believe how men can... We can be very complex when we're like focused and complex. Then we rest, and we forget that. We waste time, we waste energy. Actually, what will help a man de-stress the most is anything a woman would consider to be a waste of time. And we do that. This is what our lives are about. We go out and waste time, and shoot things. What is that about? Shooting a gun. If you ever shot a gun, huge testosterone producer. Bang, look what I did, bang, Now we got kids doing it all the time on the video games and whatever. But what we should be teaching our children as well as ourselves, how to be constructive in what we do to produce enough testosterone so that we don't go out of balance so much that we overemphasize our needs, and then suddenly all I need is things to stimulate me, and I never come out of that state. And this is I touched on this, the man of the last century used to be able to go to a job and do what she didn't want to do. So when he came home, she was truly grateful that I found this man in my life. The fact that I could provide a life where she could do the things she wanted to do, the things she liked to do, the things women love to do, because of me, then I can take credit for that. So when my day is done, my day is over. I've done my job. I deserve my rest. And she goes, let him rest. I mean, I'm not going to do those jobs. Now, when women are out doing that and they come home, they don't have that feeling. How can you generate that feeling when you're as burnt out as he is? And now you're even more stressed because you've got all these other things to do. So rather than fake it to make it, we need to realize what is she's needing at that time is more oxytocin. Her lifestyle today, if she was just baking and cleaning and sharing and taking care of kids and educating kids all day long in a community of women, that would be 12, 18 hours of oxytocin production. When he comes home, she doesn't need anything from him. See, she's not hungry for oxytocin. There's no bonding. I go to indigenous cultures and do counseling there. It's a whole different whole thing. Women could care less about listening, having a man listen to them. Women don't care about it. You'll never hear a woman complain, doesn't listen. They don't even want to talk to men. They got women to talk to. And romance. Women in other cultures, in the indigenous cultures, could care less about romance. But what is so special about romance? Romance is a super oxytocin producer. What is so special about talking? Talking about your feelings is a super oxytocin producer. Discovered in the last 30 years. No history of this at all on the planet. Why? Because women didn't need a super oxytocin producer. From a man's point of view, it's a total waste of time to spend $300 to talk to a therapist. Or $200, whatever it is now. $300 women will pay me to sit there and look at them while they talk. That's a very important message for men to get. Women will pay to have somebody simply listen. I have counseling clients who beg me to come back. I go, no, you're just addicted to me. You have to do this with your husband. He won't listen. I said, now I've got a book. You learn how to do it with this book. Well, actually, I teach them, so they learn how to do it with their husbands. And that's called a Venus talk. 10 minutes. They need 50-minute hour to produce all this oxytocin. What I learned as a therapist, because I did all kinds of experiments on my clients. And also looking at other clients as well. Generally, people get the most out of therapy in the first few sessions. Women. Why? Because in the first few sessions, they don't expect the therapist to fix anything because they don't yet know or understand the problem. So women will talk about their feelings, they'll talk about their problems without an expectation that you, the guy, fix them. They think maybe down the line you'll do something, but not right away. Now, as a young therapist, like most therapists who don't have big clients or big clientele, women would talk about problems. Instantly, I start giving them solutions. Those women didn't come back, so I had this little clientele. That's how I discovered all this. I said, why don't I try the opposite? I'll just not solve anything, just listen and ask more questions. I was sold out. I had a waiting list. And I asked the women, I said, well, why did you pick me as your therapist? I was doing more research. Oh, my friends were talking you up. I said, what did they say? Oh, they said you cared so much. Now, the reality is I cared the same, which is a lot. I do care. But the way I showed my caring was to always interrupt them and solve their problems and tell them why they don't need to be upset, which is what every husband does to his wife. Interrupts her, tells her why she doesn't have to be upset, and tries to solve her problems, diminish the problem. Because on Mars, that's a loving thing to do. If you're worried about something, another guy said, don't worry about it. You'll handle it. Tomorrow's another day. Forget it. Let's drink beer. Just ignore the whole thing. On Venus, that's not what they do. So when a man can learn to do this is like really unusual. So, wow, he's just this really caring guy. I was always a caring guy, but guys care. That's what women don't perceive. But they demonstrate their caring in a way that isn't the way women demonstrate their caring. But men do care. They'll give their lives. They're the ones who go into battle. If you're in danger, they will lose their lives for you. We are the big romantics. But we think we have to do these big, huge things in order to create that romance. So we have some of these romantic novels that women have invented, which are all crazy. They're insane. Men have never read those books. We'll never do those things. Because they're all based upon him understanding what you need, anticipating your needs, and saying just the right thing in the perfect tone at the right time. Even the actors, the big romantic actors, they rehearse those lines over and over and over. They didn't even write them. You know, it was a writer who went over and cultured, did this and this. And then there was a director who said, no, let's get the lighting and let's arrange it. We need a little more build-up before we get to the line. And then it happens. It's just, and of course women go, wow, that's what I want. And they come home to their husband who's, you know, Neanderthal. You know, I'll never get it. If you're in an emergency situation and that Neanderthal saves your life, you'll have the best sex you've ever had in your life. Why? Because you could depend on him. Now, but you don't have to have huge emergencies to depend on men. He's there, sitting on his couch. Don't bug him all the time. Little emergencies are happening all the time in a woman's life. Ask him for help. Learn how to ask. Don't complain. Complaining is not asking. See, women think if they complain a lot, they're asking for help. You know, like, my wife said, oh, I can't take the dog to the vet. John, can you take the dog to the vet? Well, I'd rather not. What do you mean you won't take the dog to the vet? I didn't say I wouldn't take the dog to the vet. You asked me if I could take the dog to the vet. Very different from can you do this versus will you do this? Whenever you ask a man a question, you say, will you do this? Honey, will you do this for me? Then he gets, okay, if I say no, then that means I've rejected her, so it's an emergency. He gets a little energy to do it. But if you say, can you do this? There's no emergency. Yeah, I can't do that. Or, yeah, of course I could do that. You say to a guy, oh, would you bring this by 5 o'clock? He goes, sure, I could do that. There's no emergency in the brain because he hasn't committed. He hasn't promised. When you say, will you do something, it goes to another part of a man's brain where he knows, I gave my word on it. If I don't do it, she'll nag me forever about it. But if you say, could you do this? Yeah, I could do that. Then if he gets forgot, well, I could do it, but forgot to do it, so what? You know. So you have to know the wording. Men are very particular. This is a whole art. Remember, I started out, one of the themes of this talk was how to ask men for support. One is use would you. Another one is start with little things until you get up and let him start to experience that you ask for something little and he gets a big response. Ask for something little, he gets a big response. Then men start actually experiencing how they can make a difference in your life. So communication, asking is big, doing little things for her. Romance, the bottom line on romance. What does romance mean really? I'm extracting the nutrient out of the romantic novel. And what it is a man taking action for a woman. That's what romance is. A man doing something for her. A woman expecting, anticipating, depending upon, knowing she can depend upon him to be her emergency man. But there are no great emergencies every day. There's little ones. So men are waiting for the big one. You have to ask. So with romance, you say to them, this is how you create romance, women. You're the ones who want it. You're the ones who need it. I'm happy to sit at home, watch TV, and have great sex later. But she's not interested in great sex unless she has oxytocin, because oxytocin is the hormone that allows women to respond sexually. So that was when the development of oxytocin started increasing in my awareness. I got very interested, as well as all the drug companies. And they will be coming out with their oxytocin drugs. They're doing their trials now to make women want sex and all that. Drugs are all the hormones. Hormone replacement will only create other problems. The solution is find out how to do the behaviors to get the oxytocin. So romance is one of the major ways to do it. So what you say on Sunday to your husband is, honey, there are 2 things I'd like to do next weekend that would make me really happy. There's this and there's that. You pick and plan it. Will you do that for me? He's going to, in the beginning, once you go with a girlfriend, I'm not really interested in those things. Seeing the aquarium or the new exhibit is not very thrilling to me. I've been before. Go have fun with a girlfriend. Sure, I could have fun with a girlfriend, but it's so much nicer when you're there. I just like to be with you sometimes. I miss it. Will you take it? Will you plan it? Okay, I'll do it. Now I jump when she does it, but in the early day, okay, I'll do it, because she worked on me. Then, on Wednesday, she says, which one did you pick? And I haven't picked, I haven't thought about it. Because thinking about those things makes me what? Sleepy. Oxytocin stimulating things. So I'm getting sleepy. So I'm not going to think about those things. I'm trying to have more energy in life. So she says, and emergency, I'm supposed to have chosen. Yeah, I picked that one. We're going to go to the aquarium. All right, we're going to go do that. Oh, she goes, oh, good. As opposed to, oh, you hadn't even thought about it, have you? Don't even just he hasn't thought about it. You have to give him that little reminder. Okay, so Wednesday, and then now he's got an emergency. 3 days, I got to get tickets, got to get directions, how to do it. I'm supposed to do this thing. And don't get directions for him. Don't make it real easy for him. Give him the information of what the destination is. And I feel so good that I don't have to plan it. He goes, okay, I'll do the hard work. You won't have to plan it. And why is that hard work? Because women, all you do is plan things. So to be able to have a moment that you don't have to plan for, particularly a moment for you to do something you like so that nothing else comes in front of you, that is now producing oxytocin. As you start telling him what you'd like to do, and that doesn't produce oxytocin, by the way. It's testosterone. It's solving the problem. The problem, women, you need oxytocin. You need romance. So you're going to go solve it. You're going to be the man. So you're already in your man the whole day anyway. You know how to do this. So you go over and say, honey, these are two things. This is how you solve this. Give him a choice to which he's going to pick. Let him do it. Now, that didn't produce oxytocin, but as soon as he takes charge of that little thing, you can relax. And you start to look forward to him doing that for you. Someone who loves you, taking you to the aquarium. Simple little thing. Your whole week, you're going to be thinking about, oh, what am I going to wear at the aquarium? You might tell, I'm going with my husband to the aquarium this weekend. You know, you'll be thinking about it. It's your whole week is going to, it's just amazing. It seems like, you can't believe this, man. Women will think the whole week about, oh, we're going to go here, we're going to go here. And how do I know that? Because times I've forgotten to do the date. And she's so hurt. It's like this huge letdown, like it was something big important. We were just going to go on a walk on Mount Tam. What's the big deal? We live on Mount Tam. But it was going to be our date. See, this is a highly important thing where she feels she's not alone in the world, and she looks forward to a time where someone is doing something for her rather than her doing everything for everybody else. Now, how many women can relate to the importance of what I'm saying there, just so the man can see that? See, as a man, if we want to go somewhere, we just go somewhere. We just do it. And if we want you to come, we ask you to come. And we don't have any issues about that. That's not our issue. But our issue is we don't think to do those things. Now we've taken you out on a date. Now we're married. Now we're having sex. We figure, why do I have to do that anymore? I did that already. It's like in a business, you do the grunt work before you do the executive stuff. So once you get to the executive stuff, like having great sex, who cares about the grunt work? That's how men think. So you have to let them know that, no, the grunt work is what turns you on, so then you have the great sex, which is a reality in women, which is a close. I know you're telling me I'm already 15 minutes over. Oh my gosh, you're such a good audience. But I'm such a good communicator, as he said to me. He said, John, you're the master of communication. We just need you to end at 9:30 so we can do more question and answering. So
Great job, John.
I'll tell you, we'll just end with that point there. Thank you very much. You've been great. We'll do question and answers. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So how much time do we have for question and answers?
No, let's go. We can go a little bit over. Are you okay with
I'm
that?
here for the evening.
Okay, I'll tell you
okay.
what. If anybody has to leave at whatever, just take off. But John's reward for this tremendous evening is that we're going to go to 10:15.
Okay. I'm very happy with that. Okay. All right, we're going to do questions. I'll try to keep them short. My answers, yes.
Okay. Trying to get a guy to read one of your books is like taking them to the dentist. Okay?
That's right.
So, have you ever thought about doing videotapes? Like, you're pretty humorous. You could probably get a guy who watch a videotape.
Oh, I completely believe in it. I have a whole show. I have a set of DVDs. Those are CDs. That's just audio. Even my talks are funny, though. If you put my talks on in the house. Also, I have a whole series of CDs, DVDs, videos of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and it's all very funny. On my website, right, marsvenus.com, right there, you get like about 15 or 10 minutes of a video, which changes every week. And you can order that video of this talk. Okay, so that's there. I have a talk like this. And it is humorous, but in my books, I tell women in the books, how do you get a guy to read my books? You don't say, you need this. Because that means he's the problem rather than the solution to the problem. What you do is he sees you reading it with a smile on your face. What are you reading? Oh, just some book. You know. Well, what is that book? Oh, it talks all about men, women, you know, it's very funny. Well, what's funny about it? So you don't give, you got to do the other thing like a cat, you know. You don't go after him like a dog, but this is where you learn from a cat, you know. You just like back away from the whole thing. He becomes interested, you leave it around, he looks. If he's still not reading it, whatever, then you go to him at some point having seen that you're happier for a while having read this book, because it will make you happier if you start applying some of these things without him changing at all. It's about learning how to lower stress for yourself. So he sees something's improved, she's behaving towards me a little differently, that's nice. And then you go to him and you say, chapter 6 is about men. And there's this one thing here I was reading, and certainly I have no idea whether this is true or not, but since you're a guy, maybe you can relate to it. Do you think this is true? So you go to him as the expert. Men love to be experts. Oh, well, let me read that. I'll say if it's only a paragraph, I can read it and tell you if it's true or not. Well, that seems pretty true. Well, thank you. Enough. You don't have to feel like, oh, you don't want to read the rest of the chapter? That makes him interested. But the whole key with relationship books is women often say, well, men just don't care about women or relationships because they don't read these books. And that's another fallacy. Men buy more relationship books than women. It's just they're in a different section of the bookstore. It's called the business section. Because men know the only way you get a woman is to have a successful business. If you don't make money, you get no woman, period. And you know this is the hard reality of life we don't talk about, but if a guy is not making any money, he's a nice guy, like to be friends with him, but you're not going to marry him. Because you know, if you're going to marry him, you call him, oh, Mom, I met this great guy. He's so loving, he's compassionate, he's sensitive, he's an artist, he sings. And, well, what does he do for a living? Well, he doesn't really do a living, but I'm making a lot these days. Please, can't you find somebody that can help? I mean, that's just the reality we're in. And it's sad, but it's also good. Men should be able to take care of themselves and take care of the woman in an emergency. Period. Otherwise, where does he get his dignity? He needs to be the emergency man. Now, of course, there could be all kinds of circumstances, exceptions to that. Then we'd find a different situation. Like, let's say a man just can't make a living financially. He will be attracted to, and a woman will be attracted to him, that she could easily support him. And she's so much in the male world that she needs a lot of romance and a lot of caring and a lot of understanding. So he produces oxytocin in her, not by being this great provider, but by being this provider of emotional support. And ultimately, that's my whole message, which is, men, our whole job used to be just go out there and make a living, and that was enough. It's not enough anymore. It's a part of it. The real thing that makes relationships work today is the skill that men can easily develop of giving women this sort of attention when they're expressing their feelings. Make it safe for women to express feelings. So women, you can talk about problems, some oxytocin gets produced. If you can talk about a problem and how it makes you feel, and feel safe enough to reveal more of yourself, then more of you is seen than in a normal sort of superficial conversation. The more naked you get, the more oxytocin gets produced. And that's what my Venus talks are, and there's teaching women how to reveal their negative emotions in a way that doesn't turn men off. For example, to say to a man, how you feel, I'm really angry because this was supposed to happen and this was supposed to happen, or I'm frustrated, I was supposed to do this and now I don't have any time for doing this, and now I'm disappointed because of this. Who can feel safe to do that? As a woman, you feel like, I don't want to bother him, I don't want him to get defensive, if I say this stuff he goes into a loop or he never comes out of his cave. It's not safe because there's no context to explain why do you want to do this. Well, the reason you want to do it is because women's brains, under moderate stress, so when cortisol levels go up, there's 8 times more blood flow to the emotional part of the brain. And that then causes all kinds of distressing anxieties and depressions and sleeplessness unless she's able to get her oxytocin levels back up again. Sharing how she feels with her partner is the biggest oxytocin producer there is, along with romance. That's what I extract out of therapy. Getting women to talk about what's going on in their lives, how it makes them feel when they are not looking for a solution and when I'm not interrupting with solutions. Every time you have a conversation, and we have nothing wrong with conversations where you're solving things, but just know if the purpose of a conversation is to solve, what hormone gets produced? Testosterone. Nothing wrong with making testosterone, but what if you're a woman who needs more oxytocin and you don't need any more testosterone? You need to have conversations where there is no purpose to solve, but you're simply sharing how you feel. And his job is not to fix anything except solve one problem. If he didn't have a problem to solve, he'd fall asleep. So what's the problem he's solving? Women are massively stressed out. What they need is more oxytocin. I know how to make it. I just have to look at her and not solve anything. And the way we work together with this, and there's a formal way of doing it, the Venus talk. There's a informal way is simply this, women. You want to talk about your feelings? Say to a guy, oh, I'm so glad you're here. I had the worst day of my life. I want to tell you about it for 10 minutes. You don't have to say anything. I don't want you to do anything about it. Matter of fact, I don't want you to say it. I just want to download it and I'll be done with it. I'm just going to say it and forget it. I'm going to say it. Please don't say anything. Don't fix anything. You don't have to feel bad about it. I don't want you to feel bad about it. Just look at me while I'm talking and I will feel better. And then he starts to realize, wow, this is the easiest job in the world. I do nothing and I make her feel better. Every man loves to do it once she knows how to set it up and also how he can set it up. All right. Thank you for your question. Good. Yeah, yes, gentlemen.
Could you tell us a little bit about the vegetarian diet?
What is that?
Could you tell us a little bit about the vegetarian diet?
Oh, I was going to mention. So here I was a monk for 9 years in my 20s. Okay, and during that time I had no allergies. As a child growing up, I had huge allergies to cats, to dogs, to hay fever, fell out of a tree, broke my head, broke my bones, everything. So who knows what caused it. But whatever it is, I had awful allergies. Then when I was living in Switzerland for 9 years as a monk, happened to be a vegetarian, I had no allergies. Always thought it because I was living this peaceful life in Switzerland. It was all clean air and everything. And that's why I didn't have allergies. Came back to the world, had allergies, as well as a lot of stress. Then recently I decided, just from the point of view, it just came to me, to create a sustainable world. I'm really into teaching courses on sustainability as well. For myself personally, one of the things I do, I don't recommend it to others. We all have our own journeys in life. But I realized that a life which is based upon eating chickens and meat is not sustainable. I travel around the world. You see these chicken farms that are miles long of little chickens in boxes. It's a horrendous, horrible thing. And anybody who's ever been to Auschwitz or Cowswitch, whatever it is in California, where they bring all the cows, it's horrendous. So we don't treat animals humanely, and I didn't want to be a part of it. So that was my reason for it, one. And two, it's just not sustainable. We're going to have to keep cutting down forests in order to create hamburgers at McDonald's. So I said I had to become, for that reason, I said, well, I'll just be a vegetarian. And lo and behold, as a result, all my allergies went away. Whatever reason, I could give you explanation, for whatever reason, I don't digest proteins, meat, animal proteins. And if I don't digest them, what that means is I have undigested proteins floating around in my blood. And that's what an allergy is. So not enough just eating meat for me to have allergy reactions, but as soon as pollen comes in, pollen's an undigested protein which goes right into my bloodstream. Excess undigested protein puts me into huge allergy attacks. And I know every remedy for allergies, and I got great ones if anybody wants to ask me later. But for me, I don't take anything anymore for my allergies. Nothing. They just stopped within a few weeks for me of becoming vegetarian again. Eating proteins that my body could easily digest. Maybe others that don't have allergies, maybe you don't need to do it. But for me, my gosh, what a surprise that was. So that's why when I was younger, I didn't have the allergies. I was on a vegetarian diet. It wasn't a healthy vegetarian diet. I think I have a pretty healthy one now. Then it was just grilled cheese, if you remember back in the 60s. Grilled cheese and tomato was a vegetarian diet. All right, other questions? Yes. Yeah, this lady here had her hand up, but you go right ahead. Yeah.
Will you teach me how to make my husband ask the direction?
Oh, what a cute question. Okay. Okay, men don't ask for directions. Now, the interesting thing is, men do ask for directions. We just do it quicker when our wives aren't in the car. We can sense her wanting us to get directions, and so we're going to prove to you we can do it ourselves. So we have a rule in our car, which is just simply, very simply put, I said, my wife says to me, look, I know you're driving the car. You know how to get there. You got a license long before you met me. You don't need my help and any of my suggestions while in the car. So I have a tendency to want to give all that help, and it must be annoying to you. So I'm going to try to not do that. And there are some times when I need to do that. So can we just work it out that when it's really, really important to me, it's okay for me to give you driving instructions, which could be to ask you to stop and get directions from this stranger who probably knows nothing, but it would make me comfortable. Obviously, you don't really need it, but sometimes I'm just crazy, okay, or I'm stressed out, and it would lower my stress to do this. Not that you need it. I mean, you've been driving, you get places. I mean, somehow you make it home every day in a car, and you don't need my help. But when I'm in the car, I will do my best to not give you driving instructions. But on days that I'm just not doing well, like it's a wedding and I'm really late and I'm stressed, how are we going to get there? On those days, I would like to be able to give you advice while driving. And occasionally if I do it, if you would just do it occasionally, I would appreciate your patience because my stress levels will go down. So any of that, I gave you kind of a smorgasbord. But see, that doesn't bruise a guy's ego. But if you look at him like, why can't we stop and ask directions? The message he gets is, don't you think I can get us there? And if I need help, I'll ask directions. I just have to prove to myself first that I need help. That's the difference between men and women. Women are like, oh, help. I could get help right over here. See, if I get help, that produces oxytocin. If I do it myself as a man, that produces testosterone. So men are always going to want to prove to themselves and others we can do it ourselves up to a point. And then we realize we can't do it ourselves, so then we can solve the problem by asking for help. So asking for help can be a testosterone producer for men, but first we want to do it for ourselves. And women just get to the place of let's ask for help sooner, which is why women will go to doctors way sooner than men and all those things. Men are like, what are they going to tell me that I don't already know? And I agree. Okay, so I want to, before it's over tonight, I want to give out prizes. All right, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10. Now this is my cleansing drink, by the way. I'm just giving these away tonight. If you want to buy any of this stuff, you could always go to my website, marsvenus.com. It's available, and it's what I've done to simplify my life every day to be healthy. And pretty much all I do is I take super minerals and a super cleanse, and I make a super shake. And I put all the things that I want in life, and this is not in stores. I just made this for me because I could. It's the simplicity. And not that there aren't other things I experiment with, but the basics of everything I think people need to keep producing for men, lots of dopamine and testosterone are in the men's program, and what women need for serotonin and oxytocin is in the women's program. And that's more of the information I wrote in my book, Diet and Exercise Solution, which goes into the way the brain works and the hormones and the neurotransmitters and serotonin and dopamine and all that stuff. But this is like real simple. They're just foods. They're not the only great things in the world, but it's a basis. And I really eat because I eat food generally. I try to get as much food, but it's really for sentimental reasons, for pleasure. I really believe you get most of your nutrition from supplements. And I totally believe in getting as much as you can from food, but let's face it, most food available today is very low in minerals. We need to get mineral supplementation. Most food that people, or at least on the run like me, travel, you've got pesticides on them. I don't want foods with pesticides. Pesticides have extra estrogen. Estrogen is going to cause breast cancer in women, and it's going to cause low testosterone in men. You want to get rid of those. I didn't know, by the way, that carrots will kick that estrogen out of the body. Is that really right? Yeah. Okay, this is a brilliant guy you got here. Carrots and apples, or just apples are good for detox?
Carrots is the number one for removing estrogen.
Okay.
Apples have a very strong binding effect from pectin, and that's why they sell pectin all over.
Binding with what?
With any chemicals.
With chemicals. Okay. All right. All right. It's a great chelator. This, by the way, is, in my experience, one of the best chelating agents as well. Minerals chelate the body heavy metals. They'll go in and take them out as well. And I'm going to talk briefly about this. But here's one thing to do. A lot of the things you talked about are in here, but one wasn't mentioned in here. A great cleansing element in the body to remove heavy metals, to remove toxins, is to reduce inflammation. See, whenever there's a heavy metal, okay, heavy metal's lodged here, then all kinds of bacteria can grow, and it protects them from the immune system. Heavy metals protect bacteria. So now, once you have bacteria growing, you've got an infection. Once you've got an infection, you've got inflammation. And that could be pain, or it could be silent inflammation. But what it does, that inflammation locks in that heavy metal from being removed from your body. Anything that helps you reduce the inflammation helps you get the toxins out of your body. Something that's magical for getting the inflammation down, to remove toxins in the body, is glutathione. Glutathione is the necessary ingredient to remove, open up the pathways to remove heavy metals and toxins in your body. The natural source of glutathione, you can get glutathione injections, you can take glutathione pills. The natural source of glutathione is aloe vera. Aloe vera is magical. It's a magical, magical superfood. And we all know it for taking away pain of a sunburn. Well, what is a sunburn? Pain, that's inflammation. Put aloe vera on and pain goes away. Well, that's inflammation here. Wherever there are toxins in your body, there's inflammation, and those toxins get stuck in that inflammation. Aloe vera removes it. So this is spray-dried aloe vera. You can buy aloe vera in the store. You can grow a plant. You just cut off a little limb of that plant, and scoop that and put it in a little drink and stir it up and drink it. It's great for your body. It's a lot of work for me, so I said, okay, I'm going to get the best spray-dried aloe vera. They take aloe vera, they spray it across the room. By the time it hits the wall, it turns into a powder. So this is spray-dried aloe vera. Then I thought, okay, what's the other thing I've been doing to help always keep my body cleansed? I have one book called Vitology, which is a doctor's book 100 years ago. Over 30 pages of that book was all talking about the benefits of cleansing your body through using lemons. It was also on the chart there, lemons and limes. One of the major detoxifiers, as you remember, it's your liver that stores a lot of the toxins. Lemon, actually, as soon as it goes into the body, when you're on an empty stomach, it will go straight over to your liver, and it breaks down the fat so the toxins can get released into your colon. So you have to break down the fat. What if you have greasy hands? How do you get the grease off your hands? That's fat. Lemon, and there's no grease. Literally dissolves the fat, which is holding onto the toxins in your liver. It's the best, in my opinion, detoxifying agent there is not on a full stomach, but on an empty stomach, lemon. So when I was a yogi, as a monk, every day I started my day with lemons, and I used to fast on lemon water and so forth. I find that the old-fashioned fasting is, you can't do it anymore, either at our age, and also the world's just too toxic. You have to do short fasts. If ever, that's a whole other subject. I have a free ebook at my website on my cleansing program, which is a 2-day fast with 2 days in front of it and 3 days after it. The 3 days after it is actually a feast. So you go from being hungry to being really satisfied. But when you take the right ingredients, you don't even get that hungry. So anyway, I put these things together. Aloe vera and lemon are in here, organic lemons in here. Aloe vera. Then what you want is a little bit of sugar for your brain. Now I know everybody's against sugar, but we eat sugar. What happens when you eat sugar your whole life, which I did, is you start becoming sugar resistant. The technical term for that is insulin resistant. So I eat a little sugar, but it doesn't get to my brain. Well, one of the reasons sugar doesn't get to our brain is the kind of sugars we eat. The most dangerous sugar is going to be your fructose. Your, what is it, your high, corn syrup, high whatever it is, fructose. What is it called? High, yeah. And they could just say high fructose, like, was that really good? No, it's refined, it's processed, it's from corn. It will cause diabetes. It is the major cause is corn syrup. But just so you know why, and you go to the stores, you'll see, even if it's corn syrup, fructose is really deadly to the body. Second, it's not deadly to the body, but addictive. And too much of it is deadly to the body, and that's just straight fructose. Now, if you have fructose in an apple, everybody goes, oh, fructose, it's natural. But you're eating all that fiber with the apple. If you take that fructose without all that fiber, it's poison to your body. So you have to know, you always have to have fiber with your sugars and your fructose. Now, the difference when you have regular sugar, sugar is made up of fructose and glucose. So when glucose is in a powdered form, it's called dextrose. So sugar is half dextrose, half fructose. When you take fructose, people all prefer fructose because it doesn't bump your blood sugar. And everybody thinks that's great. It's not great. It's terrible. What happens, it doesn't bump your blood sugar because the fructose comes into your body and goes straight into your liver. Fructose doesn't go straight to the brain. Why do we need sugar? For the brain. The muscles can get all the fuel they need from fat. Emergency, it needs sugar. The brain can only get its fuel from some form of sugar. That's how the brain gets its energy. So when you want sugar, if you have fructose, 1/10 of that fructose is going to go to your brain. So if your brain is hungry, says must have cookies, you'll need 10 cookies compared to just needing 1 cookie of dextrose. Dextrose is a form of sugar that goes straight to the brain. No one uses that for 2 reasons. One, they say, well, a lot of dextrose will cause you to have high blood sugar. Well, that's if you take too much, because it's going to go straight up in your blood sugar. You just take a teaspoon, 4 grams, that's all. If you're diabetic, 2 teaspoons. So you get that dextrose because it will go straight to your brain. Now, on this one, there's no conspiracy. Just food manufacturers put fructose in cookies and put dextrose in cookies and put sugar in cookies. And they found that a person with eating a sugar cookie eats 5 cookies, a person with fructose in it eats 10 cookies, and a person with dextrose is happy with 1 cookie. So it's going to be months before I buy another bag of cookies. So what cookie wins out? The one that doesn't feed you your brain. So dextrose, you can't buy dextrose in the grocery stores, nowhere. You won't see it in anything. It's not commercial. Nobody will buy it. Anyway, this has got dextrose in it. Dextrose, I think, in a moderate amount is the superior sugar because it feeds the brain. So it's a brain tonic. Has the dextrose in it. It has the lemon in it. Then I figure, okay, why bother taking enzyme pills when I could just put it in here? So I added enzymes in here. I added acidophilus in here. All the little things that everybody should be adding in, I think. Because every time you eat pesticide food, it kills the good bacteria in your gut. besides putting estrogens in your body. It kills the good bacteria. So we need to keep replenishing. So probiotics are in here as well. And prebiotics, the food for the probiotics. And that's inulin. So, and I have the expensive inulin that doesn't cause gas. So anyway, that's my little cleansing product. And that's the same for men and women. Super Cleanse. Now, who would like to try this out? I've got 5 bottles of it. Okay. Okay. Oh, lots of people. That's really great. Okay. I thought I had 5. Now I just have 3. All right. So I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 100. All right. God, that's it. Okay. Who's next to 57?
28.
82.
48 sounds pretty close. Okay.
38. 79. 22.
Who thinks they're the winner?
3.
No. Towards the number, so we have to look the fair one.
3.
No, it was 57 was the number.
56.
76.
All right, we're going to do a whole new number for the last one on this one.
79.
Okay, let me think of it first. Okay. All right, I got it.
22.
The number is 6. There you go. Okay. She's 6. She's close. You're close. All right, so now, this is briefly, okay, there should be 2 for men, there's 3 for women. These are super minerals. I think this is my opinion. And remember, I'm not a medical doctor, I'm just a health researcher, okay? But these are things I've researched and found to be very convenient. There is something massively missing in the market. The most important nutrient for your body is whatever nutrient is missing. See, they're all important. But if you're missing one, then it suddenly becomes the most important one. Now, a lot of you take supplements, and you know, how many of you take lithium as a supplement? Very wise people. See, a lot of people think, oh, that's for crazy people. Because what they found in Australia is that when there were natural springs that were filled with lithium crystals, the people who were depressed were no longer depressed after being in the water. A few days later, they would come back and they go, what happened? Something must be in the water. Schizophrenics, bipolar, but just regular depression, unhappy people would get in the water and they'd be happy. What was in the water was lithium. So then the medical community said, well, let's make a drug. But it's a mineral. You can't patent it. There's nothing. But what they found is if you can get a form of lithium called lithium glutamate. And they gave it to people, but it didn't do anything because it never got into the brain. Lithium glutamate doesn't easily cross the blood-brain barrier. So when somebody's bipolar or depressed or anxious, they give them lithium. Not lithium, but lithium glutamate, or another form that doesn't get into the brain unless you give people massive doses. Massive doses of lithium glutamate has all kinds of bad side effects, just like every drug has bad side effects when you produce way more something. For example, Tylenol, the drug of choice for suicides. I just want you to know a more enlightened way if you want to commit suicide. Just go to your store and buy a bottle of potassium. That's all it takes. 1 bottle, 50 capsules of potassium, and you'll die. You have a heart attack. So anyway, it's probably cheaper than Tylenol. They don't want you to know that. But my point in telling you is any healthy mineral taken in big doses, and that's just 50 times the dose, will kill you. So even taking lithium in huge doses won't kill you. You just have all kinds of problems that will result, like your thyroid slows down, you gain weight, and all kinds of problems. So people go, oh my God, I'm going to gain weight. But actually what lithium will do, if you can get it into your brain, will immediately start producing brain chemicals, actually regenerate your brain cells, protect you from the effects of MSG. All these things have been proven, and will make serotonin in your brain. The only person who can upset me is my wife. And when she does, I just go and I grab another lithium, pop it in my mouth, and she has no power over me. Because it will produce a big dose of serotonin. And whenever your mind is going over something again and again and again, see, one should be enough. When you start going over something again and again and again, it means you're not in present time. You keep going back, going back. That's your brain. It just doesn't have the mineral necessary to make the serotonin to calm you down and say, well, you've already thought about it, now just relax. So serotonin is a magical thing. Every ADD child, I give ADD kids these minerals for little boys, little girls. I give the Venus one. In a week, parents are going dramatic changes in terms of calmness and focus, relaxation. I take people off of antidepressants, not just with a regular dose. If you are going off an antidepressant, I have a protocol using these products. There's a couple a little bit more lithium than what's in here for a period of time, and that's all written out at my website. You can go to my website and write to us, and we'll send you that protocol. It's available as well. So what's the unique thing about why I call these super minerals is they're super because, like lithium is not lithium glutamate, it's lithium is lithium orotate. Dr. Nieper, who maybe spoke at this revered place, Dr. Hans Nieper, a brilliant, brilliant scientist, had a center in Germany, it was illegal for him to come into America, and if you went to his center and your vitamin C came from his place, it would be confiscated at the border because the CIA knew every single person from America that went there, and his products were not allowed in America because he was curing everything with minerals. Now, one of the minerals he was using to cure cancer with, the big thing for cancer, was calcium orotate. Now, I'm not putting calcium orotate in here to cure cancer, and I don't know if it would do that or whatever, but what I do know is the side effect that he said of taking calcium orotate is that overweight women lost weight. So I said, why is this? Because calcium orotate will take away your hunger. I lead at my ranch. I have a wellness retreat. I do it once every month for myself and for 40 people. I do it at my ranch where everybody does a cleansing program. They fast for 2 days. And you would think, how do you keep people from getting hungry in the first 2 days, which is the hardest part of a fast? I give them lots and lots. Every 2 hours they take more minerals and nobody gets hungry. Over and over, just take the minerals. If you have minerals, your brain makes plenty of brain chemicals. It lowers your stress. You're allowed to get your food from your fat. This is one of the most healthy things that we're missing. Lithium orotate. Why is it so important? Because it's not in your health food stores. It's missing from most people's dietary regime as a supplement. Now, what I have in the women's is 4.5 milligrams of lithium orotate. In the men's, I have 2. Women need serotonin a lot more than men. This is your normal thing. Now, if you are under lots of stress, you just double the dose. 1 dose is 2 capsules in the morning. You just double it. If you're going off an antidepressant, you triple it for a while. And if you're going off your bipolar and needing a little extra support, you get straight lithium orotate. 3 different companies I know of make it on the internet. And you take up to 25 milligrams of lithium orotate a day. And if that doesn't do it, then something else is missing, like balanced blood sugar. See, you can have the mineral in order to make serotonin, but you still need the fuel. What if you're hungry? What if your blood sugar's dropped? What if you're pre-diabetic or diabetic? You can't absorb the sugar in your brain to make that serotonin. So balancing blood sugar becomes a very important factor. But before I get to that, that's another technique. These minerals, we have chromium in here, which is known to help balance blood sugar. We have a bit more chromium for men, because the more muscle mass you have, the more chromium you need. I got that from weightlifters who, instead of using steroids, started using high doses of chromium. This is a great thing for testosterone production, but only because it helps, or possibly only because it helps your body to absorb the sugar you need to fuel the brain. So we've got the chromium in here. We've got magnesium orotate in here. Bowel movements, thyroid function, relaxed brain, all this stuff comes from magnesium. Magnesium orotate ensures that the magnesium crosses the blood-brain barrier to your brain. That's why they're super minerals. They're all bonded to something called uric acid, which is vitamin B13, which you go, well, what's that? Well, that's something that's super high in mother's milk. Why is it super high in mother's milk? Because the baby needs to have all those minerals be delivered into the brain so it can develop. So this is Dr. Nieper discovered this. And of course, then there's some vitamin D in here, but not as high doses as you would recommend, which is high doses of vitamin D. It's another topic in here. But I make sure that you have your vitamin D in here as well. Very critical for brain function and metabolism and so forth. So I have the men's. And the difference is that, opposite to what everybody tells you, men have higher calcium, lower magnesium. Women have higher magnesium, lower calcium. Whatever kind of supplements you get, women, you need way more magnesium than you could ever imagine compared to calcium. Americans eat 3 times more calcium than anybody in the world, and we have more osteoporosis than anybody in the world. It's calcium absorption. You need to be able to absorb it, and when your magnesium is low, you can't absorb the calcium. Women with their menstrual cycle are losing huge amounts of magnesium. Their body just uses it up faster. They need to replenish it. Taking magnesium supplements are really a great thing for women. A food which is highest in magnesium is almonds. Okay, it is the superfood of magnesium, lots of almonds. So I'll get to the superfoods next. So, all right, what man We have to do the men. What men want some of these things here? Okay, I'm going to think of a number between 1 and 100. Let me think first. All right, I got it. Who said 70? 72 is the number.
69.
Okay, that's it, and that's it. Okay. Hey, he got 2 in a row. Oh, you can't have as I could to have a reasonably priced product. So the first superfood that's in here is the kind of protein. Now it is proven that whey protein is the most effective food to immediately convert into serotonin in the brain. This is the best antidepressant there is whey protein. The problem is with whey protein is that very quickly your body can't digest it after a while and it won't get to your brain. And that's because they cook the whey. They pasteurize it. I looked long and hard to find an Australian company that would make raw whey powder. So this is raw whey. Now what that means is it hasn't been cooked to kill all the bad bacteria. Well, there is no bad bacteria. It's like raw milk that's protected, and you spray dry it, bacteria doesn't grow at that point. So what you're getting is the amino acids without being heated, because that destroys their effectiveness to some extent. Also, it's enzyme rich. All the enzymes of the raw milk are there. And what whey is, and the reason that was important about whey is in China, in India, when I was in India, the Ayurvedic system, when anybody is sick, they have all kinds of massive herbs that they would give people. But the food regimen that they all go on when they're sick and they're recovering and rehabilitating and helping their body rebuild is a diet primarily of what they call buttermilk. Buttermilk is very similar to what we call